Wop, 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 wop. There we go. Aha, there we go. And how about this one? Yep. Cool. How's the level? Is that reasonable? Is it reasonable to hear me? Thank you. Yeah, this is some beads in a crazy huichol flower peyote pattern. All right. So, bit more level. I did figure out how to do this with the levels. Let me see. It's advanced audio properties, 200%. At some point it starts to get too loud and it gets like clipped. How is that? Pop, 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 pop. Well, it should be good. That looks like it's getting into the yellow, which is closer to where it should be. Right, so I sort of got interested in web design through, well, no, that's not true. I was a journalist before I was a web designer, a professional web designer, and I was always interested in mixing written articles with multimedia and using sort of interactivity for storytelling. And this is a thing I've always wanted to be able to do on the web and always felt like was not really being done enough. So let me show you what I mean. This article is an article that my friend wrote, and it's about bikers in Colombia and how they go in groups up a mountain. So the idea here is that this, as you scroll, these captions come over the image, but the image is not actually scrolled. It's sort of just its position fixed, and you can always see the entire image. It is never cut off by like the edge of the viewport. And then as I scroll these captions over it, the caption that corresponds to the image, when that caption comes on, the image changes, swaps out. And so if you notice in this position of the scroll, both of these images are cut off and neither one is really doing anything. So I'm just sort of in between them. I have to either be here or here to be able to see the image. In this case, all of these sort of intermediate states are useful because the image is totally visible. And it sounds like a small thing, but I think it makes a big difference for, enjoyment of the article and enjoyment of the images. So this technique was actually, they've been doing it at the New York Times for many years. This article is from 2014, and it's by Mike Bostock, who's the guy who sort of invented this thing. And I recommend you read it because it's quite interesting about how, scrolling is sort of the main way that we interact with web pages, and it's a sort of very interesting perspective on like how to do that right. So new on the web is something called scroll-driven animations, where as I'm scrolling down this page, things are animating, and this can all be done in CSS with no JavaScript. So there's, here's an example, image reveal effects. So as I'm scrolling down this page, you can see that this image is getting to full opacity and the clip path is growing so that you can see all of it. But this is a bit different because if you notice, as I'm scrolling back down, it's shrinking again. And this is, so the animation is, it's moving forward and backwards based on the scroll, which is actually not what's happening in this case. In this case, you cross from one position to another, and the animation happens all in one. There's no way for me to get in the middle of this fade. It's either faded one direction or the other. If I were to use this scroll-driven animations to do the effect, you would have this sort of like intermediate state where it's half faded in and half not. So what we're doing, we can't actually use this thing, although there is a way you could use it. And show you that here. This blog post, the guy explains how you could do this using a scroll-driven animation, but it's quite clunky. You have to set all this CSS up, and then you do a keyframes to change a CSS custom property, and then you use a style query to read that property and then to set your CSS. So this is quite verbose and sort of confusing. If you Google how to do this, how to trigger an animation when something comes onto the screen, everyone tells you to use something called intersection observer. So, and that's in JavaScript. And the whole point of this is to avoid using JavaScript. So in the hot effects, I created a web component that we can use to do this. So it's called hot effects intersection observer. And basically what it does is it creates an intersection observer, and then if you are if the element is on the screen, it adds a state which you can then read in a pseudo class in CSS, and that's it. That's all it does. So the idea is with this custom element, you can avoid writing your own JavaScript, and a custom element obviously is just HTML. So we should get into it. So the idea for this thing is I'm going to create this hot effects component called intersection observer. It's going to be a custom element called hot effects intersection observer, and then there's these, you wrap whatever you're trying to animate in there, and then you can set the properties that you want to animate. In this case, we're transitioning opacity, and you can all you need to do is use this pseudo class state is intersecting, and then you're good to go. It's much more straightforward and simple than the crazy style queries. Also, the other problem with the All right, I guess I'm back. Can you hear me now? Cool. So I don't know what happened there. The streaming software crashed. I'm trying to record the streams in separate videos, and I guess it did not like it. The audio is desync. What does that mean? I mean, lagging? Let me try to stop it. And how about that? I'm gonna move this. And then try to record it again. It's a dubbed kung fu movie. Wow, that's bad. What if I go to the intermission and come back? How about that? Are we synced up? Well, this happened to quit again, so this is getting dicey. I don't know. How's the sync on the audio? Is it reasonable? Haven't even written any CSS yet. So this is what we're after. We're building the demos for this page. We're going to build a simple demo, and then basically I have these photos, which I took in Guatemala, and then we're going to turn them into position fixed, and then put these captions on top of them and have the captions scroll up and down, and then as we scroll up and down, the images will fade in and out. So the idea with this basic one is just to give the very simple demonstration of what this element does. So the way this works is this is a page inside a page. So if I click that button, I'm now editing this page that is going to be embedded in the other page. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and then what we want with this page is to have a bunch of empty space, so that people have to scroll down, and then apply some animation and have it only happen. What I want is to have two of them. One animates immediately, and one animates when you scroll onto it using the custom element. So first we can maybe wrap these in a row so that they're next to each other, and I'm going to make them into a row with Flexbox. You can't see that. How about now? Display flex, flex flow row no wrap. And as far as animations go, there's something called Animate CSS, which is like a library of these things, and there's all different ones: shake, rubber band, jello, that's fun, heartbeat, let's see, flippers, what is that? Ooh, there we go. Flip in X, flip in Y, flip out X, maybe flip in X. How about that one? So what is this animation? It doesn't tell you. These are just meant to be like, I think you're supposed to add this CSS file, and then you just use the name of the animation. I would prefer to just copy the one I want. So how can we do that? I'm just gonna open DevTools, and then we can see if the keyframes are in here somewhere. And then flip in X. So it's adding it, and then it's removing it, which is super annoying. What about if we just went to the source and copied the code from there? Flip in X. So this is the keyframes, and that's basically all we want. So in here, I can add in my keyframes. It's gonna do, it's got a bunch of them, and it's doing like a rotate 3D, All right, so, and then to make it actually work, we need this. And I'm going to put it on each one of these individually. And it's actually it's without the class because these are inline styles. And it's actually, so this is just animation name. It's not actually going to animate it. We need animation, flip in X, let's say 0.5 seconds, and that should do it. And then backface visible. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to do a split with the current tab so we can get both of these working. Let's add some gap in here. And it looks like they are working, but it's kind of a little too fast for me. I'm just going to say 8 seconds, but 8.8 seconds is 800 milliseconds. How's that? To make these, let's just say 1 second. So this will happen as people reload the page. So if I reload this, as soon as this comes on, they run. And if we add, so if I add padding top on here, 100 VH, that's 100 view units. Now they're down below on the page, so we miss them because they happen while the thing is off the page. And the only way to fix that would be, I mean, there's probably multiple ways, but how we're going to fix that is with our hotfx intersection observer. So this is a custom element. We need to add the script for it. I'm going to add it from localhost because it's still under development. Localhost 8001. So, just wanted to check. So this is from 8000, port 8000, and this is the hotfx component that we're going to use. So I will add it right here. Boom. Now the script is on here, and this hotfx component should work. Allow. And so right now we need to use it, which means that basically this animation, we only want it to apply when once the thing is on the page. So what you do is hotfx intersection observer state is intersecting, and then the nesting selector, which means that it applies to this element. So now when I scroll onto this thing is when it actually does the animation. You can see the other one happens on the page load, and we don't even see it, but then this one happens on the bottom. It happens when you scroll onto it. So if I save this page and then reload this one, we should be able to see these two things happening, except we also need the script on this page. split flap, no. Dev, no. And there they are. And when I scroll down here, it did it pretty fast, but you can see if I scroll off of it and then scroll back, it will rerun the animation. So this is the okay, you gotta see this. If I scroll up, can't see it, and then if I scroll onto it, it runs the animation. This is the one that we fixed using the custom element, and then this is the one that is runs on the page load and you'll never see it. So they both have the animation, only one of them is visible because we made it visible on the scroll. So how about this one? So to get this one to work, we first need to get these images sort of stacked on top of each other. This is also another page. So fun again. Now I'm back. How's the audio? I'm running OBS in safe mode now. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference. I'm gonna close this thing. Maybe that will help. I don't know. We'll see. So, as I was saying, we are working on this page now. It must be like a memory issue. It doesn't really like these pictures when I'm doing anything like that. So the idea here is we need to get all of these images to stick to the top, and then these captions scrolling over them. So that's the first thing to do. So for the images, I'm going to do position sticky top 0. So in this case, now they're sort of all scrolling on top of each other. That's not what we want. This is like the card stacking we did last week. So this should be position absolute top 0. And now they are, you can't really see what's going on here, but they're all one layered on top of the other. But what we need is the captions are these P tags. So let's add P, and then we're going to put Z index 1. In order for Z index to work, you have to use position relative. And now these captions are on top here. Whoa, what is that? Whoa. I'm going to close this. So let's style these captions. We could make them color white, and then something to make them pop off the ground, pop off the image. We need a text shadow. You know what, I'm gonna, instead of making them color white, I'm gonna make them a white box with a black border. So let's do background white, border 1 pixel, solid, current color, and then we'll add some padding on here. And you can see they're a little too large, it's a little too wide, so let's do max width 500 pixels, and here they are. Now, how do we spread them out so that they're all the way down? We need to add, say, margin top 100 VH. And now they are all the way down, and there's there's VH is a viewport unit. So what we're doing here is basically adding space between them of 100% of the viewport, which is the size of the window. Viewport means window. And then I want these to be in the middle, so I'm going to add margin inline auto, and now they're in the middle. So right now what we need to do is get these, so this image is actually higher than the viewport, and it's going to be we need it to be exactly the size of the window. So in order for that to work, I'm going to do VW and 100 VH, and this will distort the image. It's going to squish it, which is obviously horrible. So what we need to do is object fit cover, and that should bring it back. Now what we also need is, you can see there's some white on the edge of the screen here. That's because there's margin on the body, so I'm going to add a rule for that, margin 0, and now we have this. You can see this as I scroll down here, it's like immediately showing white because the all of these captions are it's immediately showing white because this is exactly the size of the window. Now the first caption, I actually want it to be on top of the thing, so I'm going to do margin top 50 VH, and now you can see the first one is on is sort of in the middle, and then as we scroll down, these are gonna these captions come over the image, and then maybe the last one needs some margin at the bottom. So I'm gonna add margin bottom 50 VH. So now this one can scroll into the middle as well. So how do we get these to stick to the top? Well, position sticky didn't work. We could just do position fixed, and that should work. So now these are scrolling onto here, and the image stays in a fixed position. So now all the images are stacked on top of each other. So what we really want to do is have them we need to have these fade in and out. So I'm going to set opacity 0. Now they're all gone because they have 0 opacity. So how do we, how do we make this, so the first one, we could just set opacity 1, and now the first image is showing with the first caption. So as soon as this caption is on the page, we want to show the second image. So how can we do that? What we want, this is the second one, and I'm going to add a new element around it, which is the hot FX intersection observer. And see how this works in the, yeah, looks okay. All right. So basically, we need to use the is observing state of this caption to show the subsequent image, which is this image. So let's name this thing, give it an ID of tiny hamlet, and then we can do for this image is give it a style of tiny hamlet, which is the caption. State is intersecting, which is our pseudo class for when it's on the screen, and then the nesting selector, and then we add this opacity 1, and fingers crossed that's gonna work. Let's make a split here. Nope. So should be able to inspect this and see if this has any. This is working. Did we add the script on this page? Yes. Well, that's the wrong one. Did we add the script onto this page? No, that would be why. Nothing is working. So it will reload to get the script. So as I scroll down, fingers crossed. No. So let's see what's happening with this element. So I'm gonna remove this split. Separate views. So, oh, that was the other one. Separate views. So, this is the element we need to know, is the pseudo class actually working? So let's say matches is a JavaScript function that tells you exactly how, if something is matching a given CSS selector. So we can say state is intersecting, and that should return true if the custom element is working true. So I think I realized what's the problem here. It's a problem with this selector. This would highlight that when the image is inside of this thing, but what we really want is a sibling selector, which is with tilde. And there we go. So as we scroll down, this one comes on, and then it turns the opacity to 1. If we want to fade this in, we can add a transition. This is not even an animation, it's a transition. 0.5 seconds, ease out, and what we want to transition is opacity. So as I scroll down, boom, we are transitioning opacity. How about that? I mean, this could be too easy. It's a little slow. I want to see this as 1/3 of a second. A little better, a little better. Could even be like 2/10 of a second. Boom, love it. So if we wanted to do all of these, we just need to repeat the same process. I'm going to wrap each one of these. And then for each one of these, I'm going to change the element and give it an ID. How about that? So this one is horses. This one is marimba. Marimba is a really cool instrument, very long history. This one is cemetery. And this one could be tree. So now we can just copy this rule and start applying these. So this would be when horses is intersecting this, and then this would be when marimba is intersecting, and this would be cemetery, and this would be tree. Now hopefully this just works. So scrolling down, got the hamlet, got the horses, got the marimba, got the cemetery, and got the tree. And that's about it. That is our scrolling caption image effect. Now I just want to see if this is going to work on the main page. And I kind of think it won't, because, oh yeah. So the issue is that position fixed is fixed to the viewport. So if you look underneath here, this is the page. These images, I want them to be in this box, not at the top. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that later, but let me tell you, this has been fun. Thank you very much. I think I'll leave it there so I can continue working on this. This has been a way to make a cool image scrolling effect on Hot Page. Go check out Hot Effects. It's fx.hot.page. Check out hot.page, and play around, build some web